4, 3, 2, 1. So Nebo, the first obvious question is, what was it like growing up in Montenegro, a country where soccer is the priority?
Well, Montenegro, a small country, but you know, Montenegro in that time was part of ex-Yugoslavia, and you know, I grew up, you know, in a small city called Nikšić, but I would say soccer city because it was, you know, soccer was everything in there. I grew up in a house in a center of city, and I was born in that house, and we didn't have a lot of money, and basically we was living 5 of us in one room in that house. But you know, my parents really was great for me and my brother, and that city was really in my heart because it's really good city to grow up for young boy or young man, and I always have great memories there. But you know, life goes on, and right now, you know, I'm here, but I have great memories growing up there, and I really appreciate everything, you know, what my parents did there, and I still have a lot of, you know, family and friends, and I love to go there, you know, for visit.
We're talking to Nebo Bandovic, the former Houston hotshot, NB Elite Realty, a great post-soccer career for you, and we'll talk to you a little bit about that at the backside of the interview. But I want to continue on in Montenegro because, you know, look, you were a part of youth development here in this country when it comes to soccer. You've worked with hundreds and hundreds of youth soccer players. Growing up in your country, just remind my audience how organized it was and how much of it was really free play on the streets and with your friends.
Well, it's a big difference because in Europe, especially in a smaller city back then, because back then we did not have Xbox and all this technology we have now, but back then soccer was life. You know, you come out of your house and everybody's playing in the street, and everybody's playing in a school, and it was a lot more connections between young populations because it was, you know, it was just not too many things to do. And from that standpoint, it was very good for development because you play all the time. You play street soccer, you play small sided games, and that's how you get your touch. Get your touch there, not from being trained by the professional. So what else is a big difference is in the States, in the youth level, you have so many youth clubs, and they do not belong to the professional teams, and they are individual clubs in a different area of city. For example, in Houston, you have so many different clubs in a different parts, right? So in Europe, even today, there is a professional clubs and teams, and they have their youth teams in different age groups. So in America is so many more players play organized soccer versus Europe. And a second huge difference is girls playing in United States so much more in a youth level. In Europe, very, very limited. So those are the difference. But even now in Europe, there is a more young kids watching technology than used to, you know. So that's a fact.
Talking to Nebo Bandovic, the former Houston hotshot striker, leading goal scorer in the history of the hotshots. You saw him banging in goals at the Summit. There were some good times there. We're going to get back to a little bit of Houston hotshot talk in the future, but I want to just take you back to your time in Montenegro. So at what point do you become aligned with the professional team? Because it's obvious that your talent was spotted when you were young.
Well, I was 17 and a half, almost 18 years old. And in that time, I was on one of the top scorers in junior team in my hometown. And I was spotted by the Red Star Belgrade, which is one of the biggest clubs in ex-Yugoslavia. And after one big tournament where we played, when the different states in that time was Yugoslavia, but every state had the national team. So it was Montenegro versus Croatia versus Serbia versus Slovenia versus Macedonia. It was a tournament in one city in Croatia During that tournament, Montenegro won, and I was the leading scorer of the tournament. And in that time, I had the players with me. One of my best friends, Dejan Savicevic, was playing with me, and Shabanajovic, who used to play with Kansas City Attack, if you remember from Major League Soccer, he was also my teammate. We won that tournament, and right after the tournament, Red Star came with a car, with somebody from the club, and they just took me from there to Belgrade to sign with the Red Star. So I didn't even go back home. So I signed with the Red Star contract. I was not even 18 years old, and it was noticed in old Yugoslavian newspaper that I signed with them. It was like a dream come true,
Wow,
because
what a moment.
yes, yes, yes. So Red Star is in ex-Yugoslavia, was like a here, like a New York Mets or Los Angeles Lakers are Rockets, you know. So
Of course.
so
Monster club. And so many
yes, yeah,
famous players
yeah. And they
have
won,
come through there.
as you know, 1992, they won the European Champions League.
Of course. So Nebo Bandovic joining us, former Houston hotshot, and as you noticed there, just as an 18-year-old signed with Red Star Belgrade. You and I have always talked because your career in the United States was in the indoor game. And you used to tell me, but I was a better outdoor player. Tell me a little bit about that and how you adapted your game to the indoor game, because it's almost a different sport, as we all know.
Yes, well, I always thought that in my heart there was always a little bit of sadness that why I did not play in Europe, because everybody in ex-Yugoslavia, even today, if you ask people who remember me in football and soccer, they would say, "Wow, you know, too bad he did not play in Europe," because newspapers and general public and people in the clubs, they thought I could have a career even in a big European club, but you know, my agent took me in the States when I was young. I fell in love with America. I ended up playing indoor soccer. I adapted well because, you know, I also had a good skill, I thought, but you know, my main thing was speed and scoring the goals. I loved indoor game, and I loved way like you know, the crowd, the music and everything, and you know, it really took me by, you know, I'm not going to say by surprise, but it really made a lot of emotions, you know, in me. And you know, I thought I adapted well. However, as you know, fast players and players who are very fast, they need a little more space. And you know, my specialty was counter attack when we, you know, was defending, because I could go and have and score goals in a counter attack to the space. So I thought I adapted well, but I, you know, I could always, you know, before I could always be uh, outdoor player. So
Nebo Bandovic joining us, Houston Hotshots. So I got my start on radio and TV calling your games back then. And I always thought, wow, this guy was a great personality, because not only was he a goal scorer, but there was a lot of emotion in him, and there was a real healthy confidence in you, and you know, you just, if you scored one goal, you wanted two, three, four. You were pretty insatiable when it came to scoring goals. How much of a goal scorer's mentality has to come around the fact that you just want to put a ball in the back of the net?
well, it's a special feeling, and it's and since in my days when I was child, I always was, you know, up front, and always was trying to score the goals and hit the ball in that corners, especially playing the streets, you know, in the street, in a small goals, you know, you improvise the goals, you make posts from wood, from metal, and you're just trying to hit those corners, and that's how you get that feeling to score goals. So it's a special feeling, and I mean, to be honest, you can give 10 assists, but goal is a goal, and you know, it's very hard to explain the feeling in the words, how you feel, you know, after scoring the goals, you know.
Nebo Bandovic joining us, former Houston hotshot, also played for the St. Louis Steamers back in the MISL. And I mean, those crowds were packed in St. Louis. 94 to 97, the Houston Hotshots were in the CISL. 96 and 97 got to the championship game twice, Nebo, just to fall short. Your coach was Trevor Dawkins at the time. What was your relationship like with Trevor Dawkins? Because people in Houston will remember Trevor.
very good guy, English guy, very straightforward, strict in a way, but good coach, knew he knew the game well, and we was in the finals, and I still remember the game in the finals. The summit was sold out. It was
Sold out.
18,000 people. We played with Monterrey Raza, our big rival, and I mean, it was amazing experience.
Those were great games, and a lot of people still remember those games. Think about the Summit sold out, and La Raza had a great indoor team. The Hot Shots did as well. Those were some exciting moments. I mean, to see those crowds in the Summit in those days was pretty amazing because, when the team first started off and it was an expansion team, there weren't that many people going to the game. So it was a great ascent. And, your owner, Giorgio Berlenghi and company, really kind of built this thing, acquired a few more players, and you guys were in 2 finals. What's the most memorable moment with the Hot Shots during those finals with La Raza for you?
Well, it was that the feeling you are in the finals, it's sold out. I mean, it was unforgettable experience because the fans was on the game. They was in, and it was cheering up, and I mean, I have to say that was one of the most exciting games I played for Hot Shots. And also we had a big rivalry with Sidekicks, which was one of the
Yeah.
best teams ever. But
Mhm.
but definitely game against La Raza. It was the game you will always remember. I remember after the game we lost, and then the people, friends and family came down. Some of the players was crying, and they came down to give us support because we give our hearts out, and we was short. And I remember one thing. Okay, I don't know. Do you remember? But before that, I was not feeling well. I missed probably a couple games before that because I was injured. But I worked very hard, and I didn't even know though I'm gonna play. But I wanted to play. I didn't want to miss that game. And Trevor decided to put me on, and I did score 1 goal, and I think I did score 1 goal. And I mean, it was really amazing game. You always remember.
And it was kind of U.S. against Mexico in a way, right?
Yes,
And that's
yes,
the other
yes,
great part about it. It was
yes,
it was
yes.
U.S. against
Big,
Mexico, and La
big
Raza
rival.
was a great draw in
Yes.
Houston.
And you had some Mexican fans in Houston who was cheering for
Absolutely.
La Raza. So it was an international game.
Yeah, it was fantastic. 96, 97, back-to-back championship finals. Trevor Dawkins, the coach of that team. We're talking to Nebo Bandovic. I want to talk to you about youth soccer and youth soccer development because you ran the West University Club for a long time. And I had seen many of my friends who were from foreign countries come here, very talented and knowledgeable soccer people, but they weren't a success because they didn't know how to adapt their thinking and their culture when it came to soccer to the American culture, which is very different when you're coaching youth soccer players. How did you accomplish that?
Well, I take everything seriously, whether is a sport, whether it's a business. So when I was player with Hot Shots, I started my academy, and I got affiliated with West University Club, and I started doing my camps and clinics. And I had one of the largest soccer academy in Texas. I had in one time 33 trainers who was working for me, and basically I kind of adapt in a way that I was able to put sports and business together. And but I never forget that was most important. It was most important to provide the best service and training, education to the children, and to be a role model for them. And that was all about, and that was the most important to me. So when you come from Europe, like in South America, you have one way of thinking, but you in the States is a little bit different. So you have to adapt, especially your way of thinking from business standpoint, and from soccer standpoint, you gotta give them the best to to help the players to develop the players, because they are young players. They want to come to the next level. You want to be able to help them.
Talking to Nebo Bandovic, a longtime Houstonian, now living in Miami, Florida, very successful in the real estate business. Was a great indoor soccer player, banging in goals left and right in the MISL, CISL, St. Louis Steamers, also for the Houston Hotshots. Okay, you mentioned something there that was interesting, Nebo, because you talked about the staff that you had underneath you, and you have the same thing in your post-career, which is real estate. You've been very, very successful in real estate with NB Elite Realty. I want you to tell me, how did you apply, like you and I have had teammates in our careers that had great soccer careers, that were tremendous soccer players. But in our minds, we might look at them and say, their second career didn't turn out to be as successful. You almost feel a little bit bad that there wasn't more accomplished in the secondary career. How did you accomplish that? How did you put soccer behind you and really now take the great things you learned from sports and your discipline and all that and put it into the real estate industry?
Well, planning, short-term goals and long-term goals. My short-term goals was to establish business what's gonna grow, and one day the business will create a financial freedom for me that I can live my American dream, and I work very hard to get that goal. Before I even I was still player with Houston Hotshots and running academy and West University soccer, having all those trainers working for me. I start investing in real estate. As a real estate investor, I was really aggressive to build my real estate portfolio, what's going to create a passive income later on in my life. I also was very lucky. When I signed with St. Louis Steamers, I was young. I was only 20 years old, but I met Slobo Ilievsky, who was a goalkeeper, and
Great goalkeeper.
Great goalkeeper, one of the best in major indoor soccer,
Yes,
but great businessman, great businessman. He was my mentor. Thanks to him, I live my American dream right now in Miami Beach. He's one who influenced me, to guide me, and says, Nebo, buy when you're young, buy in a great location, and one day real estate is going to appreciate. You're going to have a cash flow from your properties, and you can live the life you want. And that's what's happened. I follow his advice, and here I am today.
Do you stay in touch with Slobo?
Slobo passed away, unfortunately.
Oh,
He passed away several years ago. Basically, he lived in St. Louis. He made his financial freedom in real estate, and then he moved to San Diego. And then a few years in San Diego, he passed away. And he passed away in a soccer field. But what a great athlete, and what a great person. And because everything I achieved as an investor, I owe to him. And everything what he said to me many years ago, everything came true.
Nebo Bandovic, Houston Hotshots, NB Elite Realty. So, Nebo, we got about 2 minutes left. And what I want to ask you to do is, now, first, I want to thank you for being a sponsor of Soccer Matters here on ESPN 97.5. And we welcome you and NB Realty, NB Elite Realty, excuse me, into the fold here. And we thank you for that. So take 2 minutes and just describe what NB Elite Realty is, and what your company does, and how you lead that company.
Okay, so basically, as an investor, when I started, I built my portfolio from two apartment complexes and commercial properties. And that's kind of, I would say, separate business as investor. But a few years before I moved to Miami, I started also real estate brokerage. I become a real estate broker just for my own goods, to be as an investor, to help me to become more successful investor, and to use my leverage for commission and other things. Then about 5 years ago, I started a real estate brokerage because some of my successful friends, investors, they said, Nebo, can you sponsor us? Can we become your agents? So that's how it started. I opened the office in Houston in one of my properties in a great location, and West Alabama Street. I built nice building, nice office. We started from there with few agents, and then 5 agents, 20, 50, 100. Then we expanded to all Texas. We are in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, El Paso. We cover every major city. Then 3 years ago, when I moved to Miami, I also got my license in Florida. And before COVID, I also registered company in New York. So right now we are in 3 states. I have approximately about 600 agents work for me. We have 3 brokers, and we are planning to expand to Chicago and Georgia and other states. So for me, I would say this is my game right now, because, you know, I'm an athlete. I'm ex-athlete. I like, you know, compete. And it's fun. I meet a lot of people. I travel, and it's not like pressure that, well, you have to produce for money and all this. It's more like a pleasure, because you work with great people. You're helping people. I have 600 agents, and they're like a family to me. So it's really a good feeling that I can do that business and develop that business without pressure.
Nebo, give people where they can contact you and learn about your company, because my gut feeling tells me some people might want to learn a little bit more about this and get into real estate. It's a good opportunity.
Well, I was fortunate when I came to Miami that by the, I'm not going to say coincidence, but basically I found a very good people to work for me. I have a few people what they work in my marketing team. And as you know, we live in a different world right now when computer and social media are very, very important. So my marketing team makes many posts, many important posts, many tips regarding real estate. I'm also mentoring other people. Ways Global mentor me in real estate. So the best way to contact us will be through my personal Instagram, Nebo Bandovic, and there many of my followers, if you follow me on Instagram, many of my followers can see many real estate tips and videos, how to succeed in real estate, how to become investor, how to achieve passive income. And my slogan is, financial freedom is possible. If I can do it, you can do it. Remember, I came to States 1985 with nothing, one bag, didn't even speak English, didn't even speak one word in English. And now I am here living my American dream, living in Miami Beach and the beach. And I want to pass my experience and knowledge, hopefully, in some other young people who can follow my footsteps.
Nebo, thank you very much for coming on Soccer Matters ESPN 97.5 tonight. Best of luck to you and NB Elite Realty. We'll be talking about your program a lot on this show now in the next couple of months. So thank you for coming on board. And it's good for me to remind the Houston public that we have had all these great former professional soccer players go on to do wonderful things like Nebo Bandovic. And by the way, his last name is spelled B-A-N-D. Go on, Nebo.
B-N-B-O-E-I-C. But remember, it was number 10, Nebo, because short. Yeah.
I liked it when it was Nebo better.
Yeah. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you to having the show. And it's really good to be a guest in Houston, because Houston was amazing to me. It's the best city, great people, great place for business. That's what I say to everybody, the best place for business, you know? So guys, go for it.
We'll talk to you soon, Nebo. Thank you very much for
Glenn.
joining us.
Thank you.